This is WFYI News Now. It's December 19th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, long-neglected apartments on Indianapolis's Far East Side will be razed. The parents of a 10-year-old boy who died by suicide earlier this year file a wrongful death lawsuit against the school district. And the term excited delirium came up during the trial over the in-custody death of an Indianapolis man having a mental health emergency. But experts say it's a rejected medical diagnosis used by police to justify excessive force.
You just don't go outside and catch excited delirium, if that makes any sense. There's something else that's deeper there.
Those stories coming up. But first, a 14-year-old girl fatally stabbed Monday on the Near East Side was identified as Anabel Trujillo, a freshman at Arsenal Tech High School. The suspect in the killing is a 14-year-old boy. He was arrested and is being held at the Juvenile Detention Center. IMPD Chief Christopher Bailey says the crime has excruciating consequences for many.
That is absolutely terrible. Both of their lives, one life is gone, one is changed forever. Both families changed forever. A community changed forever. It's devastating.
Crisis counselors have been on the Arsenal Tech campus to provide assistance to grieving students and staff. Indianapolis Public School Superintendent Alicia Johnson called on parents and guardians to help their children talk about this violence. More long-neglected apartments on Indianapolis's Far East Side will be razed. WFYI's Jill Sheridan reports on the next phase of demolition for Towne and Terrace.
An agreement last year outlined a plan to tear down the troubled complex and relocate remaining residents. Demolition on 8 vacant buildings at Towne and Terrace started this week. Indianapolis currently owns almost all of the parcels of the complex. Years of legal battles have delayed efforts to clear the site and plan redevelopment. Built in the 60s, the condos were once considered middle-class luxury living. As buildings fell into disrepair, health and safety issues plagued the development. The city has dedicated more than $14 million, including federal relief funding, to purchase buildings and help find new housing for residents. Police say since demolition started last year, there's been a drop in calls to the complex. I'm Jill Sheridan.
The parents of a 10-year-old boy who died by suicide earlier this year have filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the fourth graders' school district, Greenfield Community School Corporation. As WFYI's Lee Gaines reports, the suit, which also names the Greenfield School Board as a defendant, claims that the district failed to take appropriate steps to prevent the child's suicide and protect him from bullying.
Sammy Toish and his family moved to Greenfield 2 years ago. The suit claims Sammy was brutally bullied by his classmates. While at Greenfield Intermediate School, Sammy was chased, choked, punched, and stuffed into a garbage can. His bullies made fun of his teeth, his glasses, and his mother. The lawsuit claims they also urged him to hang himself. Sammy was found hanging from his bunk bed by his 13-year-old brother this past May. The lawsuit claims that Sammy and his parents repeatedly reported the bullying to school staff, but staff failed to take appropriate action to prevent Sammy's suicide. The Toish family's lawsuit seeks monetary damages and legal costs. I'm Lee Gaines.
Greenfield School Superintendent Harold Olin declined to comment on the lawsuit. If you or someone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts or a crisis, please call 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And for our final story today, the term excited delirium has been used as a diagnosis to describe people who die suddenly in police custody, including by Indianapolis police. But as Side Effects Public Media's Farrah Anderson reports, physicians and medical boards have long dismissed excited delirium as unscientific, and some argue it's used by police to justify excessive force. And a warning to listeners, this story has tape that some may find distressing, including references to mental illness.
It's the early hours of April 25th, 2022 in Indianapolis. Body-worn camera footage shows 39-year-old Herman Whitfield III going through a mental health emergency. He's restless, speaking strangely, and sweating profusely.
Hey, bud, you all right?
Yeah.
Responding Indianapolis police officers shocked him with a taser and restrained him face down. Later, Officer Dominique Clark asked her colleague, Jason Mitchell, if Whitfield is still alive. Mitchell responds.
Yeah, they still doing CPR.
Then, Clark speculates about Whitfield's behavior.
You know what I think about it? Excited delirium.
I think it's excited delirium, she says. Excited delirium was not listed as an official cause of death for Whitfield, and it's unclear if it played a role in the way IMPD interacted with him. But that exchange shows more about how they're trained. Nationally, police have used excited delirium to describe people who become aggressive due to mental illness or drug intoxication. The term draws upon real diagnoses like delirium, mental illness, and cardiac arrest to imply that some people are predisposed to die in police custody. It's been used to explain dozens of deaths involving police in the U.S., including George Floyd's. Problem is, it's not recognized by major medical boards.
You just don't go outside and catch excited delirium, if that makes any sense. There's something else that's deeper there.
That's Dr. Kimberly Brown, an emergency medicine physician in Memphis. Brown says excited delirium should never be used to explain in-custody deaths. Joanna Naples Mitchell with the nonprofit Physicians for Human Rights agrees. She says the term is common with law enforcement because it helps justify excessive force and avoid accountability.
I think there's probably a lot of police departments around the country that are still training on this in this way, and their training really needs to be updated.
IMPD said they do not currently train officers on excited delirium and that they updated their training in July 2022, 3 months after Whitfield died. But IMPD declined to provide any of the new training materials they referenced when side effects asked to view them more than once. And documents returned in a public records request show how IMPD trained its officers before that. The training said excited delirium is real and can lead to unpreventable sudden death. It included other controversial statements and shaky medical theories.
It's a made-up diagnosis.
That's Dr. Douglas Zipes. He's a professor of cardiology at Indiana University's School of Medicine. Zipes published a paper that found excited delirium was used as a fallback cause of death across the country after police shocked people with tasers near the chest. He says he vividly remembers a case
where an individual was very agitated and was delirious for some hours prior to the taser application, was shot by the taser, and in 30 seconds had cardiac arrest.
He says that requires assuming the excited delirium itself caused a heart attack at the exact moment of the taser shock.
That's, at least to my mind, was more than coincidence.
Some states have banned the term's use as a cause of death. Others are moving to ban it from police training materials. That's because some describe people with excited delirium as insensitive to pain or having superhuman strength, including IMPDs. Naples Mitchell says that plays into racist tropes about Black men,
which puts people at a greater risk of, frankly, of law enforcement using excessive force if they're confronted with someone who has experienced a mental health crisis.
Ultimately, she says it's about treating health crises as health crises and not criminalizing them. And that requires a system where police aren't the first or only responders to mental health emergencies. I'm Farah Anderson, Side Effects Public Media.
Side Effects Public Media's managing editor, Farah Usuri, co-reported this story. Side Effects is a health reporting collaboration of NPR member stations across the Midwest, based here at WFYI. And that's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Dodlin and Zach Bundy, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.